My name is Martin Jack. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Barcoding Incorporated. Today, many of our customers are using both the cloud and Android devices as a hybrid solution. So today I'm looking forward to speaking about the next evolution when it comes to Android and the cloud.
Hello, I'm Craig Miller from Honeywell Safety and Productivity Solutions. I am a product marketing manager with our mobile computers, looking after operating systems, enabling software solutions, as well as security on operating systems.
Well, hello to everyone. My name is Chris Rossi. I'm with SC&H Group. We're a 250-person professional services firm. I'm part of our technology advisory practice, and most days I spend with management teams and my clients, helping them figure out what they want to do from a business standpoint, but then also how does that translate through to technology. And right now, a lot of that conversation is about cloud and all the emerging technologies that are in play today. We're in a very interesting time. I think cloud has been around as a concept a good 10 years, but during that time there was a lot of promise, maybe not a lot of reality. In the last 3 years or 4 years, we've really moved from a promise to a true implementable solution. And that seems to be accelerating. I think a lot of what we're seeing on the cloud side is that we're seeing a lot of depth, but we're seeing a maturity in the cloud. So that's making it real. And when I look at, I work with a lot of manufacturers, distributors, retailers, professional service companies. These are all folks that don't do technology for a living. So what they're able to do is start to shift infrastructure that was on-prem into cloud, and it actually works. And that's accelerating. We're actually, in certain industries, more and more moving to a complete true cloud, nothing on-prem state. That's still fairly unusual, but it's certainly something that's accelerating.
Today, we are seeing a lot of our customers move to the cloud. And our customers are not only cloud users, but our customers are using Android devices as well, right? That's a big part of their enterprise solution. So what we are challenged with on a day-to-day basis is how do we optimize both that cloud platform and add an Android mobile solution to that. As a company, we are primarily responsible for tracking things. We track assets, we track anything to do with any movement along the supply chain. So what we have done in the past as an industry, and we focus on barcodes, we focus on RFID, and lately we've been focused on Bluetooth Low Energy. But one of the things that we are exploring with the cloud is also focusing on object recognition, because with that cloud platform and the power of the cloud, we can actually utilize mobile devices and begin to track the assets by the size and the look of the object using the mobile device.
Right.
So that's an area that we're interested in when it comes to the cloud. I don't know if that's something that you see in Chris in terms of folks utilizing the power behind the cloud to enhance the mobile solution.
I would say it's still, I wouldn't say it's fully evolved yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly accelerated a great deal over the last couple of years. In my client base, I probably see it the most in the field service side of the house. So we've had RF guns and barcodes in warehouses mm-hmm. for many years, but what the mobile is doing is now I'm in a service world where I'm not within a warehouse. Suddenly now I'm able to actually take that computing power and put it at the point of attack. Mm-hmm. That's changing now what I can do. Suddenly I can understand things out in front of my client or mm-hmm. customer that before I didn't. Right. I had a piece of paper, right. And so there's a lot of interaction that's suddenly becoming mm-hmm. possible. And I think that's really driving, the workflow mm-hmm. and it's also actually driving up expectations. Yeah. I think UPS and FedEx drove everyone's expectations up, and we're seeing that now in the business space.
Right.
In terms of the devices at the source of the data, we're seeing increased interest in customers capturing richer data about those transactions, whether that's photographic or based on sensors, and so on. There is a continuing demand for more types of data that can then be gathered, sent to the cloud, analyzed there, and used to improve customer operations. Supporting that is the completion of a multi-year period of transition or uncertainty over operating systems for the mobile devices. Several years ago, we had one operating system being dominant. We went through a period where there were multiple operating systems in play, and now the world has kind of settled out on Android for handheld mobile devices. That gives us a very rich environment in which to implement these richer data requirements. Android is a cloud mobile operating system. It's very comfortable in the cloud and provides tools to customers and end users that help enable that capture of data and smooth transition into the cloud. In addition, Honeywell has building out now a platform around Android and new processor platforms. We call it Mobility Edge, and that enables us to focus on bringing more tools to a platform of different products designed to do different things in the marketplace. And that will further enable the ability to capture more types of data and have better understanding of customer operations.
So what we have seen in the last 3 years, primarily from customers that are both actually inside of four walls and outside of four walls, they're beginning to make that transition to Android. And the reasons, obviously, the main reason is because Windows Mobile is no longer an option, right? Windows Mobile there's an end of life date. That's on Windows Mobile. But what we are seeing is that customers are realizing that all of the consumer type features that are built into the Android platform, those features are now being brought over to the enterprise. And we've seen an adoption of those features at a very fast pace. So customers are actually expecting those consumer type features to be utilized in the everyday workplace. And I think that's actually driving productivity because you're having you're having employees come onto new companies and they're able to shorten that training time needed. They're able to adapt to the solution that's in place. And we are seeing where companies are able to just deploy these new Android solutions and with a very short span in terms of the training needed to adopt these new technologies.
When you look at the cloud and Android and really to the extent about mobile and what does that impact, when I'm in the CIO seat and when I'm talking to CIOs, I think the conversation is, where are you on the continuum? Because for better or for worse, everyone's in a different place. And the biggest challenge, quite frankly, is in some respects the Android, for example, there may be tremendous capability there, but maybe I don't have a real way to bring that and connect that to my back-end systems. So if I've got older back-end systems, but I've got this very forward-looking front-end system, connecting those two and really using that data effectively in my business process can be a real challenge. So the conversation often wraps around, where are you on this continuum, and then how do we get you from wherever you are today to this future state that is something you have to mutually define. I will say that one of the comments that I make a lot is that if you look out 5 or 7 years, most people will be in some form of what I call pure cloud in most states. Now, there's some industries that will lag behind that, but in many industries, everything's going to be on the cloud. So it's really not a question of whether you're going to do this, it's really more when and how.
So typically, when a C-level person, CIO of a company is thinking about that transition, moving from Windows Mobile to Android and utilizing Android and the cloud, there's a lot to think about. We can sit here and we can talk about security, we can talk about testing, we can talk about adoption rates, we can talk about your wireless network. So we can go on and on with that conversation. But if we were to just pick a couple here as an example, testing, one of the things that we see a lot of is we have our own developers within our company, and we have also third-party ISVs that we utilize. And the one common thing that we see is there's a need to test that Android application they're creating across multiple application hardware, across a variety of devices. So as an example, what we see that is that when you deploy an Android application, because it's a very fragmented OS, we see different versions of the OS deployed, we see different screen sizes, we see different feature sets. And in order for those developers to shorten that time frame to test the application, to reduce the cost in taking that solution to production, they have to rely on a way to test a lot sooner. So what we are seeing is that our developers and also other third-party developers are utilizing the cloud to have like a testing farm where they can test hundreds of Android devices utilizing the cloud. And I think what that's doing, that's reducing the cost of software, it's stabilizing software. So in the long run, your cost of ownership of that particular solution is being reduced because you don't have to sit in a room and have 100 devices that you're testing on. And you can test on future Android operating version, OS versions, and you can test on the last 2 or 3 versions back.
Yeah, with regards to testing, we do support a variety of different operating system versions across the product line, and engage in automated testing of the solutions to ensure that that's going to work on each of those operating systems in order to minimize customer problems. We have extensive test groups throughout the world that are dedicated to that task. We also do as much as we can in terms of aligning software that we add to the solution, so it's consistent across platforms and can be deployed across different Android iterations with minimal, if any, changes to try and provide a common base for applications to run and enable customers to deploy that application across different generations of devices. As we move forward with the expanded platform concept, we'll further smooth that out by leveraging that common platform across different purpose-built form factors to allow that customer to choose the product that best fits their use case. But in sharing a common platform, essentially they can develop once, test once, and deploy across different form factors to meet different use cases without the need for extensive retesting with each platform or with each product.
And Chris, I want to go back to something you said earlier about the cloud. Really going forward, the cloud is going to be hosting everything, and it's going to be the primary source of the solutions. It's all going to all live in the cloud. So the one thing I've seen in our industry, right? So typically, when we switch phones, buy a new phone from a provider, we have to somehow set that phone up, reprovision that phone, and they've gotten a lot smarter, right? I can sit and I can pull all of my information off the cloud if I purchase a new Android phone, and it's all set up. Takes me 30 minutes, right? And the phone is reprovisioned. That's the type of solution I would like to see in the supply chain industry as well, our industry, in terms of the rugged devices, whereby as devices are broken and a new device is shipped to a customer, they may be able to just take it right out of the box, sign into it, and it has all of their settings, right? That's something that's not quite there in our industry, and that's something I think, Craig, that I would like to see as well, in that it would be nice if we can shorten the time to replace a broken device. Today, when a device is broken in the field, it takes time to provision it, to ship a new device out. Would be nice if there can be spares right on site where a user can just sign in and the entire ecosystem is pulled right back into the device.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of sort of the state of maturity of the cloud and the applications that underlie what you're seeing in the cloud. So if I take your example of I've got a device, I want to re-provision it, the limitation probably isn't the device itself or the Android operating system. It's the behind the scenes legacy system that sets up that order, that stores that data, and then goes through a workflow to then push that out. And that's really, so that ends up being a big part of the challenge, is how do I solve sort of those foundational challenges so that my cutting edge and user-facing devices work as well as they could, because they're not getting the data and the information in a way that actually aligns and makes sense. So that's a big part as we talk about how do I get from where you are now and how do I head to the cloud. It's when you look at all these component parts, you have many parts that are really coming from a much older architecture, a much older world. And a lot of clients I work with, I've got several clients right now where we're working with ERP systems and we're trying to take them to new ones, but those ERP systems were written in the 80s.
Right.
So they're flat file systems, they're not even a relational database. So trying to have them talk to an Android device or communicate, that's a massive event.
Right.
So there's a lot of foundation that has to be done to, I think, enable what you're talking about in the way that you would really like to see it happen. And I think in a lot of organizations, that's a big part of this path that they're going to have to go down.
And I know as a CTO, what I want is to take a device out of a box, scan a barcode, log into it, and have it just work.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah. You first got to inventory what you have and understand it, but I think what you then have to do is build a roadmap that is, how am I going to take what I have today and move it into a cloud environment? And that's going to be a bit different for everyone, but some of the solutions may be simply shifting to say kind of cloud core systems. So I think the premise that we've been in for the last 30 years is that we're in a client server setup, and that's got a lot of constraints to it. We've been moving to what I call a hybrid state for the last 10 years, where we're a little bit of cloud and a little bit of on-prem. But what's really happening in the industry is that the on-prem systems are sort of dead. No one's investing. People that write software, no one's investing in on-prem anymore. They're investing, all the money's going into the cloud solution. So in order for you to kind of make that leap, you need to get on the platforms that are evolving. And then let the people that are actually writing the code for those platforms take you where you want to go. The idea that you're going to take an on-prem solution and make it work with some of these newer technologies, you could do it to a certain extent, but it's increasingly expensive. And so that's really the challenge. How do I get from A to Z? And depending on the existing mix, you've got to come up with some kind of plan that says it may take you 2-3 years to get there, but at some point you get to the point where it all converges. Now, obviously, you want to try to get the low-hanging fruit knocked out and get those things that you really need working today done as soon as you can, but you need to do it in a way that has some intelligence to it, as opposed to, well, I'm going to solve this problem, but I'm going to ignore the longer view.
Yeah, what we see is customers really taking this transition as an opportunity to modernize or update their their user applications as well. One of the challenges with Android is there's no clear automatic path for applications to migrate from Windows Mobile. It does take a fair amount of investment and work to move that application forward. So in doing that, we have seen customers who take the opportunity to re-engineer, lay out applications in different ways that are more efficient, take advantage of new features and capabilities on the mobile device, and really turn that application into something that may move from a stylus-based or keyboard-based solution to something that is very touch-centric and friendly and familiar to the user. Most of our customers have challenges with turnover and personnel bringing expectations from their private lives into what they do. They're given a mobile device with which to do their work, and they expect that to work like their personal devices. That's another area in which modernization of applications can benefit, by providing that user with something they're very familiar with at speeds training and enables that user to be much more productive right away. To build on one other point from a little bit earlier, we were talking about how to improve the ability to know what's going on with the mobile device when it's out in the field, to identify problems, determine root cause of problems and things like that. What we're doing to help there is instrumenting these devices, if you will, gathering statistical data about their performance continuously in background, and saving that data off and migrating that up to a cloud instance where it can be analyzed and provided back in a dashboard format to enable customers to monitor the operation of their mobile computer fleet. One of the areas there you can watch out for are devices that are not performing to the norm. A device where the user is getting a lot less productivity out of the scanner, for example, might indicate a physical problem with the device that could be addressed more easily. We're also doing a lot of work around battery management and power management in the device. We've built an artificial intelligence model that we're currently deploying, which will look at what's consuming power on the device, be able to make suggestions to optimize the performance, and help ensure that that device can have enough power to get through an entire workday. In addition, that data can also be shared to the cloud and analyzed to determine general trends in terms of battery use or identify devices that are underperforming.
So Craig, I think also going back to what you had mentioned earlier, that migration step, I think is a really exciting time for our customers. As a CIO and CTOs out there, when we talk about migrating their solution from Windows Mobile to Android, it's an exciting time for them, because the ones that are doing it the right way are really just starting over. They are not simply trying to copy what they had initially and move it to Android. The ones that are doing it the right way are thinking out of the box. And one of the things that come to mind for me is another form of input. Traditionally we have used the keyboard, we have used scanners, but what's evolving quickly is, speech to text, text to speech, right? It used to be that you would need a third-party solution to do this, and you still do under some, vertical markets. But for the most part, this is now being built into the operating system, which is tied into the cloud. So the intelligence behind it is unlimited, right? Not only can I do now speech to text, I can do cross multi-language conversation as well, right? So I can have someone that speaks one language speak in another language through that Android device that's utilizing the power of the cloud. And that to me is pretty exciting.
Very powerful capabilities that are enabled through Android being a cloud mobile architecture. You've cited an excellent one there in terms of voice recognition and translation. That can also be done visually by just displaying an image with text in it, capturing that with the camera, and seeing a live translation of that image with a round trip to the cloud. Also some common features that we see customers utilize include location services, very common in field mobility type applications, where either using mapping or identifying where the device and the user are is augmented by cloud location services. In addition to that, we have messaging, things like that, all is built into the platform, enable the customer to take advantage of those things very easily and very quickly as part of their new application designs.
I hope not. No, really, in today's world, there's nothing you should be doing by yourself. You want to apply best practices. You want to lean on companies that have been doing this. Certainly, when you look at some strategic things that you must accomplish when going to the cloud, one thing that comes to mind is security. And as much as I know, I still don't know enough to get past that initial probably step that's needed to have a really secure environment. So, Chris, I don't know what you have seen in terms of cloud and security. That comes up every single time. Folks, that still have on-premise solutions the reason they're not moving to the cloud is because they're concerned about security.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I would argue in the vast majority of situations I go into, we'll analyze the situation and discover that security is very poor. There's perception that says I have it behind my four walls, I'm more secure, but I can get a high school kid to go in and crack the network from the parking lot fairly quickly. So the cloud actually, kind of inherently has enables much greater security. Now you have to be intelligent about that. You have to be, there's a lot of, the cloud is very what I call frothy. There's many people throwing something up on the cloud. So if I'm concerned about security, I'm not
I've heard that word in a long time now.
Yeah. But I mean, if I'm going after some piece of my puzzle, I'm looking for cloud solutions. I need to look at it. When I look at these solutions, I need to understand what their security is, but also where are they in the continuum? Are they three guys in a garage with some VC funding, or are they something else that's actually been forced because of their client base to take security seriously and take care of it? I also really then need to think about security from an enterprise standpoint, and I think this is an area that certainly in larger enterprises I think they've put more focus on, but it's a big problem in many companies, is that they haven't really thought through how am I going to handle that I'm going to have some products on premise and then a whole bunch of stuff on the cloud. I mean, some of the Android applications we talked about here, there are all these different little cloud apps. So I've got a maintenance app that's going to monitor the state of my Android. I might have, so I could come up with 1,000 different applications that I have my employees using. How do I access that in a secure manner? How do I ensure that I'm managing, that whole process? How am I provisioning new employees with the access to the applications they need? So that's a whole area. We call it identity management. It's, but I think that's a key part of security, because that also then allows me to implement things like multi-factor authentication, and also, be able to see what device is someone using.
Right.
So that's when I look at security, I think that's, to get cloud, I look at a future state where I have cloud systems and I have the user device. And those are the only things that exist. There's no local area network. There's nothing in the middle. Now, we're 7 years off from that, but if you think about that, you really have to think about security. How would I make that work from a security standpoint? So I have to have a secure device, and I have to ensure that when I'm accessing those cloud systems, I'm doing it in a secure way.
Yeah, and the one thing that comes to mind, at least for me, when we think about rolling out large deployments, as the cloud becomes the primary solution for most companies, we're moving back to a world, it's not quite the same, but it's sort of that, client server base, you had mentioned earlier. What happens if I lose connection? Does my day just lose all productivity for that one day, for that hour, for that minute? I don't know what's being done today. We have some solutions that we're looking at, but that's always something we have to think about as we are deploying cloud-based Android solutions. Do you have redundancy built in? Do you have a fallback plan? And I know, Craig, what are you seeing in terms of the mobile devices that you work with every day?
Yeah, security is a topic that comes up with virtually every customer. Obviously, you're putting a lot of endpoints out in the field in many cases, and those create the possibility of malware, or bad actors have a place where they may be able to infiltrate the customer network. So we get asked about that a lot, and we do take the security aspect of the solution extremely seriously. As you know, Honeywell, is a large company with a lot of different businesses, many of which have a very strong focus on security as well. When you think about aerospace or embedded systems that are operating buildings and things, those systems expect an extremely high level of security, and that kind of sets the tone for what we do with the mobile computers as well. On the Android side, there are a number of capabilities and features that are built into the operating system to promotes security. One of those is a secure boot process where the device won't start if it's not running an operating system build that's unless that build has been signed by Honeywell. So we can avoid devices being rooted or tampered with in that way through that secure boot chain. Some of the features within Android are monitoring applications running on the device, looking for signatures of or known behaviors that are contrary to what's allowed, and they can actually stop those applications and notify the user before they've had a chance to do anything bad. Full disk encryption is a standard feature of Android and implemented by default, so that the data that you're generating on the device is encrypted at all times. There's also built-in VPN to aid in cloud and host communications over with the data being encrypted, not moving into clear. So there's a variety of things that are built into the OS itself. In addition to all of that, Mobility Edge platform I mentioned earlier is designed to support multiple versions of Android out through the future Android version Q. So customers purchasing that platform will get refreshed on the operating system several times during the life of the product, extending its useful life. Or within each of those operating systems versions, we will provide security patch updates on a regular basis every 30 to 60 days to help ensure that customers stay current if they choose to on that operating system and have the very latest security patches that are provided by Google and Qualcomm throughout the life of the product. And then finally, at the end of the product life cycle, we have a new program called Sentinel that is an add-on to our service programs, which will provide additional security updates for a period of time after the Google security patch support ends for particular operating, or for the last operating system we offer on the device. So all of those things together create a very stable and secure environment for running applications and capturing sensitive data. And Honeywell is very focused on addressing security concerns that may pop up from time to time on a quick basis. We've got a staff of people who are ready to act on those things very quickly as they come up, because these things will, and you never know exactly when they're going to happen, but we're ready to respond when they do.
I don't think there's a single easy answer to that question. If I'm an enterprise and I'm serving up something to my customer, that's one avenue. And in that view, I probably need to move quickly and aggressively, and I need to be on top of the evolution of the technology, and I need to put that in a secure state that I can be comfortable will work. And a lot of times that's going to be, more and more we're seeing those kinds of applications put into an AWS or Azure type environment, and then layered in with modern, access tools and managed appropriately. But as I look at other aspects of the organization, it's a much murkier picture. And as I go through and try to move the organization down the road, oftentimes I'm dealing with much older solutions. So the way to do that securely isn't as clear cut. And to some extent, in a number of situations, they just have to be replaced, which takes time. So there's no quick path. I will say what I see in most situations is where there's customer-facing items, applications, those are separated and dedicated and secured appropriately. But it's oftentimes the applications that run the organization throughout the organization that is a lot harder to figure out.
So ideally, when I think of where we're going with the cloud and Android, I'm always thinking into the future. I'm always thinking outside of the box. And I want to go back to something I brought up earlier about utilizing object recognition. And the only way you accomplish that is through the use of AI, artificial intelligence, right? And what that really does for us is open the doors up to a lot of opportunities. And I want you to visualize something. We sit in this room right now and think about it. If I were to walk into this room with an Android device that has a camera, right? Or even an Android device, which I believe Honeywell is maybe investing in, with the glasses and camera in my glasses, I can do a visual inventory just as quickly as I can probably do an RFID inventory. So I think we get into the point where we are able to use the visual part of the Android and the cloud and make intelligent choices. And the reason I bring that up, I have seen examples of where the barcode is a great solution, but it's not always the perfect solution. RFID, another great solution. Again, it's not always the perfect solution. We have customers today that are moving assets off trucks into trucks at an incredible speed. You know, they park the truck, they have 30 minutes to take all assets out of the truck, load it into a venue, etc. We can actually take inventory of those assets visually using the cloud artificial intelligence in an Android device. That's something I would like to see moving forward. So there's so many things that we can talk about into the future. That would be my ideal sort of scenario.
I'll pick up on that. I think the area maybe in the kind of the space I live in is the orchestration of that. You know, how do you workflow your process and how do you tie all these disparate systems together? How do I take advantage of what that Android device can do? It can see, it can gather the data, it can potentially use AI to make interpretations of that data and then make decisions. And then how do I flow that into my process so that I'm orchestrating whatever the outcome I'm trying to orchestrate? How do I make that work? And I think that's the future state. I think there's, we're able to do a certain amount of that today in the existing state, but I think the future state, I think we'll be able to combine workflow, we'll be able to combine the cloud space with the point of attack that you get with those Android type applications and combine them in ways that we can't really conceive of today to then really accelerate or really streamline and make decisions that today we have a static process, but now we can make process changes on
Predictive,
the fly.
yeah.
We could we could intelligently look at the process and go, okay, I'm unloading that off that truck into the venue, and I see that there's a problem, and on the fly I'm interacting with that user to say, redirect this into this other location, or I had an event occurred where I suddenly needed that item, and I can intersperse myself into the logistics
Visually, you
chain.
can see that it's broken and you need to order another one.
So I can
There's so many
dynamically
things we can do.
change
Yeah.
what I do, how I do it, and really kind of reinvent the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so it's a fascinating future state.
It's exciting.
It's got a ways to go, but it's got a lot of fascination, and I'm looking forward to it.
We're also seeing, growing customer interest in, doing more with the device, putting that into more types of applications and leveraging some of these, new technologies to do a better job or gather better information. Things like augmented reality, the example Martin gave with being able to dramatically speed up inventory processes through the assist of AR is one of the key areas of interest that we've heard. In addition, using the device, as I said, gathering a lot of data about what the device is doing and using that to improve operations through an AI engine is another key area that customers have expressed interest in terms of making themselves more efficient and improving their operations that way, leveraging all the power and sensors and capabilities that are present on the mobile devices.
It's a great time. So, as I sit back and I look at what the cloud has to offer, what Honeywell is bringing to the table with those Android devices, and our demanding customers that we love that are driving innovation. I think this is a time it's probably the most exciting time we have seen in a very long time when it comes to technology, being able to bring all these pieces together. And as I said, really provide unlimited solutions that we'll see going forward. I think the next 5 years, we're going to look back and we're going to be amazed how quickly we have gotten there. It's going to be very exciting.